Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Just in Time Cafe's webinar. I'm Tracy O'Rourke, co-founder of the Just in Time Cafe with Elizabeth Swan. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm very excited about this webinar today. I think it's very timely. There seems to be a lot of interest about this topic. We had a lot of people register for this webinar. It's probably because Stephanie is so awesome as well. Our session today is called Hot Tips and Activities for Lean Facilitators to Increase Team Engagement, presented by Stephanie Hill. How are you today, Stephanie?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tracy?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us at the cafe. Our community appreciates you coming to the cafe as well. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Stephanie before I hand it over to her, and I'm just going to cover a couple things before we get started. So Stephanie is the owner of Lightbulb Moment. I love that, the consulting firm. And she's been consulting for over 21 years, helping lots of organizations in their continuous improvement journeys. She has certificates for a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, Agile, and Strategic Human Resources Leadership. She has a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a master's in public health. Woo! How about an interesting personal fact about you, Stephanie? You want to share one?
An interesting personal fact.
Yeah,
I love to put together Lego sets. How about that?
I love it.
I don't
All
know if
right,
that's
good.
interesting, but
Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. You can ask questions anytime in the chat, but there's also a question area. You can use that in the chat as well. We do welcome your participation. As a matter of fact, we want you to actively participate because this whole session is going to be in Mural, the whiteboard application. So if you've never used Mural, the three of us, me, Stephanie, and Elizabeth, are big fans of Mural. So, and then if you missed the webinar, which somebody already told me they logged in and they have to go already. Guess what? The recording will be available for free on the Just in Time Cafe website in the next couple of weeks. So you guys have been there, done that. You know what we want you to do when you come on to the Just in Time Cafe webinar, and that is introduce yourself. So thank you so much for putting your name and where you're from in the chat window. We've got lots of familiar names in there. Tracy Schuster, Larry, Jana, Carrie, Drabaki, or Carrie. Oh, that's Carrie Drabeck. Okay, I missed that. I'm sorry. Missed up your name. I'm sorry. We also have, who else? Todd, hey, how are you? From Lompoc. Sam, Rodney from Clifton, New Jersey. Hey, Lenny, he's a fellow local San Diegan. Greg from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Jennifer Ayers, thank you for joining from Oregon. And also Jennifer from North Charleston, South Carolina. So we got lots of people. Wow. And again, like I said, we have a lot of people joining from all different places. A lot of people signed up for this webinar because I think this is something that people really want to get some ideas on. So, okay, I know I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie in just a moment, but I'm going to cover just two things. First, because we don't want to wait till the end anymore on this, we do have another webinar coming up next month because we do have these every month. And we are going to be hosting Raghavan Venkatram. Did I say that right, Elizabeth? I hope so. Standard work,
yes.
defining the missing lean link. So I'm really excited about that as well. He really talks about this as being a really important piece to the puzzle. And he's going to be really spending some time talking about standard work, the continuous improvement cycle, what's missing, and stepping up your standardization game. So join us next month for that. And we also have to tell you about our other friend from, well, he used to be in Oregon, but now he's in Missouri, Brian Hurley. We featured him on our podcast last month. He wrote a book called Lean Six Sigma for the Greater Good, or Lean Six Sigma for Good is the name of the book. And we posted our podcast very close to that name. Awesome talking with him. And he's writing another book as well. So if you have anything to offer for his book on nonprofits coming up, you should ping him. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to our guest star today, Stephanie Hill. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. All yours, Stephanie.
All right, thank you. Thanks, ladies. And I see a number of my friends on the chat, so thank you to all of you and show my appreciation for you as well. And I don't know how many of you are personally connected with Tracy or Elizabeth. And I know Tracy talked a little bit about me, but I wanted you to know that I've known both of them through the Women in Lean. I know we have some other Women in Lean members out there, so hello. And Tracy really helped me with adding nonprofit not nonprofit organizations to my consulting business. So I appreciate her for that. Elizabeth has been meeting with me at least every other week to coach me on writing my first book. And so she's been doing that with me for the past year, a little bit more than a year, I would say. So I'd say she's become one of my long distance besties in this time. So I encourage you to connect with them if you're not already reaching out with them. Okay, so let's get into the topic at hand. We're going to talk about facilitation. And the word facilitate has a Latin root to it, and it really means to make easy. And so for those of you who have been facilitating, I think you know that the role of facilitator would be anything but easy. There's a lot of struggles and challenges when it comes to facilitating, but it's also extremely rewarding. I love doing it. It's always different. There's always something new to learn. And it just, the reward at the end of it and finding teams that couldn't achieve this without having a facilitator help them along is a really awesome feeling. So I'm going to talk about some tips today. I've had success with these. I've also taught a number of people, some of them are on the call, who also use these tips. And I found that they're not only really helpful in lean facilitation. We use them a lot in lean events. I've also used them in diversity, equity, and inclusion workshops. I've used them just leading meetings day to day. And even though we will talk from Mural today, there's nothing magical about Mural. It's something that we'll use for virtual explanation. But, like Miro is another one that I think is really helpful, MIRO. I know some companies use that, and that works great too. Idea boards. So I saw Tracy's on the call today. I learned about idea boards from the Iowa Lean Consortium. When we do Iowa Lean coffees, we use idea boards, which is totally free. I also use it with teams that I facilitate because you can use them. You can use it for like a Kanban board. You can use it to prioritize ideas, to affinitize, which is essentially means putting things into categories and just engaging people. Lucid chart. So I've done over 60 process maps in Lucid chart in the past year. I used to use Visio, and Lucid chart is really fun. I think it's a visually appealing way to map if you're going to do it virtually also. And the Lucid chart also has some templates in it. So like A3, I have a hard time honestly finding really good A3 templates. If you have a great one, if you want to email me later and send it to me, that'd be awesome. But I also found it in Lucid chart too. So all that to say, just explore the virtual world. It's ever changing, especially since a lot of people have been working from home over the past couple of years, and just play with it and see what works best for you. All right, so Tracy, I don't know if I saw some link in there, but if you could share with them the Mural link, that would be great. Yes. And then in the meantime, okay, and so while people are opening that, if you could also get out a sheet of paper, if you don't have one, a sheet of paper and a pen or pencil, whatever you prefer. And so the sheet of paper, like either have 2 sheets or 1 sheet that you can flip over and write on both sides of it. And we're going to do that kind of towards the end, but I just want to make sure you have that ready to go. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, so if you are new to Mural, you're going to want to enter as a visitor. And so in just a minute, just to make sure some people get in there, I'm going to summon everybody. So when I summon everyone, you're going to be following me. You can also like hover over my SH icon or whatever this is over here, and you can hover over it and then go up to follow, and you can also follow me. I see we were talking about ants, looking at ants, and so I see people coming in, so that's really cool. Okay, so as we do that, let's see if I summon 30 folks. Okay. Uh-oh, something's moving. Thought we locked it down. I'll move it in a minute. Okay, so as we do this, I'm going to go to the questions first. And as you're participating, if you have a question, you can just double click. And so that's how you would enter information. You just double click in there and you can type your question. If the boxes are all full and you need another box, you simply double click and it opens up a new sticky for you, a new box for you. And so if you feel like you did something that you didn't mean to do, which happens quite a bit for Mural especially, you can just click on it and hit Control Z and it'll undo it. You could also go up here where it's got kind of a backwards arrow and that'll undo it for you as well. If you want to zoom in and out, the kind of to the bottom right, it's really faint, but there's light gray and it'll help you zoom in and out. And you also notice that it says zooming in and out, you can use Control plus and Control minus. So those are the tips it gives you when you're there too. All right, so. Oh, and I think Tracy also mentioned as well that when we're doing this, if you have a question and maybe Mural is still like, I don't know, we're not ready for that yet. You can also put your question in the chat, or I guess there's a Q&A spot in Zoom that you can use as well. So that's where you would put the questions. I'm going to hop over to the agenda at this point. So today I'm going to be talking about the why behind team engagement. And I think it's probably pretty obvious that you want to have an engaged team, but I like to start with the why. And so we'll talk through that. I'll give you some facilitation tips. We'll do a few interactive exercises, and they're just more to illustrate some possibilities. So we're not going to go like really deep into them like I might do with a large team, but we'll kind of get some samples of those. And then we'll leave some room at the end for Q&A. All right, I'm gonna hop on over to the why. So the first question I was wondering is, what is the purpose of team engagement? And so just this Business Insider thing I like that says, happy engaged teams do better work, are more collaborative and innovative, and deliver up to 50% better performance than less engaged teams. And then if I ask why facilitate with interactive learning, I found two things that I really liked. One was from the New School of Architecture and Design. And so it says, students strengthen their critical thinking and problem solving skills using a much more holistic approach to learning. New School of Architecture and Design. And then barring severe shyness or anxiety, hands-on learning is uniquely positioned to support or elevate any type of learner. And I like that one because nobody learns in the same way, right? So some people like do better if they listen, some people do better if they write, whatever the case is, but this is saying that people of all learning styles can get engaged when they do that. All right, time to talk about the tips. So when I teach facilitation, I have a manual that is pretty big that I teach from. And so I thought I'm going to kind of condense all of that, or just kind of choose 7 tips that I really value. And so the first one is over here, is be prepared and adaptable. And so no 2 events I've ever worked with have been the same. Groups, they're just not, right? So you kind of have to adapt to that. And you just like some things that get thrown your way are just so unique. And so you just have to be ready to flex. I actually, like anybody in the group who's worked with me would know, I prepare an agenda every day when I facilitate, and it is to the minute. Like, it's not the 5-minute mark, it's like the minute, the whole day long. And then I just adjust though. I adjust on the fly. But I usually will change times and make sure that no matter what, I'm keeping time, because I think as facilitators, that's a really valuable thing, is that we are prepared and we stay on time. A mentor of mine, Steve Dickinson, used to tell us that facilitation is like dancing with the bear. So you can pick the place, you can pick the music, you can even choose what outfit you're going to wear. But at the end of the day, it's the bear's dance. And so I think of the team as the bear. So I try to do everything I can to prepare, but they own the content and they own how it's going to happen. So, just kind of go with the flow. All right. The next one is get to know your audience. So facilitation, it's different than teaching. Or I guess it's kind of similar, but it's different than just like presenting to somebody, because it's not about you, right? It's not about showing your expertise. It's not a performance. It's really about adding value for the team as efficiently and effectively as possible. So to add value, it is helpful to know where there are gaps and how people learn and what's important to them. So, if you're coming from the outside, for instance, it can be hard to quickly learn about people, but incorporate it throughout your facilitation. And even on breaks, have one-on-one conversations with people so that what you're doing working with them really adds value. Okay, so then when we go to the next one, it is demonstrate and manage respect for all people. So if you have a lean background, and I know not everybody on the call does, but if you have a lean background, you've probably heard respect for people before. Respect for people is one of the pillars in the House of Lean, and you'll find that in the Toyota Way. And I like to say respect for all people, because there can be a tendency in rooms when you have different levels. So, some organizations tend to be a little more bureaucratic, and the person with the highest title tends to get more respect, for instance. Or somebody maybe who's more talkative might get more respect. And so it's important that, like, I think of the role of the facilitator as the ambassador of respect. So you want to make sure you hear everyone's voice. And even if there is a decision maker in the room, you want to make sure that every voice is heard first before any decision is made. And so it's not just about how you come to people and how you treat them, but it's also about how they are treated by their peers. And so you need to get to a point where you're very comfortable being assertive in taking that role of ensuring that everyone is treated respectfully and fairly. I did a talk also with the Iowa Lean Consortium before about the facilitator's role in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And facilitation is one area where you have the opportunity to enable each person to have a voice, feel included, and that you're not making anyone feel isolated or anything like that. So that is a role for you. And also you want to have the psychological safety available to them, because in a room, when you're facilitating, you want everyone feeling comfortable to essentially air their grievances, right? So they have to get to a point where they're sharing the obstacles that they're facing with the work that they do in order to overcome them and to have a change that's going to be sustainable and that everyone can stand behind. And if anyone feels unsafe, in any way, shape, or form to share, then that is going to hinder the success of your work that you're doing with them. So if this is an area where you feel a bit uncomfortable, I would say is just seek some coaching and get somebody to help you with that, because I do think it's quite important. I'm going to move on to just-in-time training. So when I first started working with Lean, I was taught, it's probably kind of an old school way of doing it, where you teach like the first day. So you have maybe a 5-day event and you spend the first half day or full day just teaching the class or teaching the participants about Lean, like all there is to know about Lean. And so I've shifted to now doing just-in-time training where people learn about the activity they're about to do. And so even in learning about the activity that they're about to do, there are some elements that I like to include with that training. And so the first one is talking to them about what they're going to do, why they're going to do it, where it fits into the week or into the day or whatever length of time you have them, and how they're going to do it. So it's just the first thing about the explanation. And I think most of that seems pretty intuitive, like what they're going to do, why they're going to do it, that kind of thing. The where it fits in the context is something that I learned probably the hard way, I would say. So for instance, if I were doing like current state mapping with the team, I would find that they kept sharing the obstacles that they had. They kept sharing those and wanting to kind of talk about those things. And it wasn't until I started saying, okay, this is what we're going to be doing current state mapping right now. This is how it's done and why we're doing it. And then explaining, but the thing we're going to do right after it is to talk about your barriers or your obstacles. And so while we're doing current state mapping, keep a record in front of you, because right after we'll talk about barriers. And then it was great. Like, everyone was really focused on current state mapping and there were no problems at all. But if you put yourself in their seat, if they're not sure that you're going to get to it, they're going to try to make sure they're heard every chance that they can get. So that's kind of like a calming thing. It also lets them know you know what the heck you're doing. Like, you have a plan, they're safe with you, you've got them in this ride that they, you know which direction they're headed. So that's another reason. Demonstrating it yourself, and then having them get the opportunity to practice in sort of a safe environment, maybe with just a fun little activity, with some feedback from you. And then lastly, sharing some examples or stories. Examples, whether they're yours or something you've witnessed, gives you credibility, and it also kind of helps them see how they could use it. And then stories, the more people can make connections of dissimilar things and see how they go together, the more it cements their learning going forward. The next one is about how you capture information. And so it's really important to do it in this order. So the first one is ask the right questions, then listen and write, perform a logic check, and then bring to closure. So the first one, ask the right questions. You want to make sure that your questions are open-ended, of course, and that they're not leading. I think we tend to miss when we're trying to lead someone down a path by the way we ask our questions. And as a facilitator, we own the process, but we do not own the content. That belongs to the team. And so it's not our place to try to guide the direction of the team for their outcome, but it is just to give them the tools and resources to get there. Next is listen and write without filtering. There's lots of different ways to listen. Here we're listening with the intent to understand. I would say we're also listening with the intent to write. And it's so when you're writing, you're writing exactly the words that the person is using when they talk to you. There should be no paraphrasing. It's very important to use the words that they're using. And you can, whatever. So you have to do that. There's a long exercise I could do with you, but I'm not doing that one today. But it's important to listen and write, because if you are paraphrasing, it is sending a signal to them that their words are not sufficient. So if they're telling you, I walk my dog every day when it's sunny out, and you write, I walk my dog when it's nice out, then they're hearing, okay, well, I use the word sunny out and I thought that was important to me, but if you think it's a different way, then okay, and it starts to like break down that trust that you're building with them. And it discourages them from chiming in the future because they think that their words aren't sufficient. All right, then is logic check. So a lot of times logic check and the listen and write get kind of mixed up. You want to do logic check after you've done the writing. So what that means is that when you are, let's say you're process mapping, if they're giving you like rapid fire steps, just whatever goes in your ear goes out your hand, like it's just really fast, right. Then take a step back and read them to yourself. And if you have a question about the logic, about the order, about something that doesn't make sense, only after you've written it do you ask about it. So that again allows that trust building, but it also is really helpful for your own facilitation. I am at the point where I write some random things sometimes, because if I'm in the middle of writing it and somebody says like flower pot, and I just keep writing, and then I look back at it and somehow the word flower pot showed up in my writing, because it's like I don't even have an analysis brain when I'm writing. It just comes at this logic check point. And then once you've done the logic check, then closure is the last step. And that is just reading it back to them. And that's the validation. So if anything's incorrect, they'll correct you. Okay, so everything here has been sort of, whether you're in a virtual environment or an in-person environment. This specific one for flip charts is obviously in person. So the first one is alternate colors. And the reason for that is that if you have a room full of flip charts that the facilitator has just written, maybe they wrote all in black ink the whole time, black marker, and you're trying to find something that you said or something that they said, it's just like a sea, it's just like a blur when you try to look back at all of it. If it's alternating colors, you can pick things out a lot faster, and that's helpful for you or the participants. And similarly, red, I only use red for accent. So if I want to really drive home a point, if I want to like capture somebody's eye, I'll use red. I just don't use light colors. Just remove them from your flip chart markers, just put them somewhere else. People can't see those. Write legibly, so everything's about the readability. Try to spell correctly, make it big enough so people can read, and just like stand out of the way. So I always kind of write off to the side when I'm doing it. So if you could do that, or else just move often so they can see. And then the last one is hang all the flip chart paper. So if they've taken the time to tell you something that's important, you've written it on the flip chart, and then you suddenly flip it over and then they can't see it, it's like, well, what the heck did I tell you for if you're just going to hide it now? So always want to make everything around the team. You could put things that they're not going to use very often, maybe off to the side or off to the back a little bit, and the things are going to need the most up to the front. But yeah, that one's important to do.
Hey, Stephanie, we have two
Yes, Tracy.
questions from a colleague, Mike Osterling. Is it okay if I ask them now?
Sure.
Okay, first, the easier one. Insights on when you use Mural versus Lucid Chart. Do you have any?
I use Lucidchart for mapping, and I use Mural for everything else. I know,
Okay.
I think Elizabeth uses Mural for mapping as well.
Yes.
But I do like Lucidchart for mapping.
Great. And then the other
That was easy.
question was any hints on how to avoid paraphrasing when someone gives you a two-paragraph explanation?
Yeah, so, I can't repeat what I do. It's got a swear word in it. Okay. Anyway, you pick up the nuggets, I will say. So if they say like, I like to walk my dog in the park on a sunny day, unless somebody, whatever kind of thing, and on, I would put like walk dog in park on sunny day or something. So it's all their words. You're just like, boop, boop, boop. You're picking them out in the order. And then the other thing is that when I start and I go through the just-in-time training for mapping, I say, we're going to use bubble language. So each sticky note is going to have like 6 to 10 words on it. And that's what I can handle. And so if they start talking, we call them paragraph talkers. So if they start going on and on, then we'll say, okay, remember bubble language, or I'm trying to keep up with you. 1 second, like whatever, just be direct about what you need from them. So.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yep. Okay, the last but not least tip that I'm going to share today is address difficult behaviors directly but tactfully. So, you could use humor, you can use your body language if you're in person and like how you position yourself. Be direct, just like talk to them directly. And then the squirrel story, I won't share that so much today, but I use Frank, the squirrel, everybody that I'd facilitate with, we all have squirrels. And so there's a story that really is cool because it helps the team self-manage. If there's distractions or if people are coming late, they kind of hand the other person the squirrel, and it's like a cute, subtle way to deal with that. But the most potentially harmful behavior, which you wouldn't think, would be withdrawing. And so this is if there's a really quiet person in the group. You don't know why they're being quiet. And so again, that could be a psychological safety issue. They might be opposed to the effort and potentially sabotage what you're trying to do once they leave the room, or they could just be introverted, but still you want to have their voice. And so, I know icebreakers could get a bad name, but starting with little things that they're comfortable sharing up front is a good way to get them talking, get them engaged and feeling part of the team. Activities that allow with individual documentation is really good. So I usually have people kind of do brainstorming on their own first, and then we have our ideas up on a wall, whether it's virtual or whatever, and then we start our team discussions. So that allows them to just be able to write versus have to talk first. Yeah, and just asking questions directly of them. Sometimes that they're the only ones that would know the answer. All right, are you ready to do some activities? Okay, we're going to start with 5S, which I hope is still there because I know, oh, did somebody move that for me? I appreciate it. Okay, so 5S is the first one we're going to do. And so I think, let's see, I think, not everybody here knows about what 5S is. And so we're going to just talk about that briefly. So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so 5S creates an organized system that enables people to see if anything is wrong, is missing or in the wrong place. Benefits are helps with safety, inventory management, defect reduction, decreases wasted time, reduces frustration, and creates a discipline that's useful for all areas of CI. So 5S is a major foundation for continuous improvement, lean, whatever you want to call it. And 5S is adapted from Japanese terms, but in the US we say sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. And so the picture to the right is an example from my son. So he has autism, and he had a lot of trouble figuring out, like, he really wanted to do well, but he had a hard time figuring out how to fold clothes and how to hang clothes. And so it was frustrating for me because I would see this like piled mess of clothing, and I don't know how many pairs of unnecessary socks I bought that child because I just kept thinking we didn't have any because I couldn't find them in the pile. And so I had, when we built this house, I had, had it so that we had shelves in there because I thought that would be helpful. And it didn't really work too well. So then I got boxes that I had embroidered with each, pants or whatever the case would be. And I had them in the shelves arranged according to his body. Oh no, I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay, so I had them arranged according to his body. So he knew to put the hats up on top, the pants lower, and all that. And the picture to the right was his own doing, and I think it worked really great. So if you think about that for the work setting, so if you have, whether it's physical, electronic, whatever the case would be, 5S is really great for that. So I am going to look for 3 volunteers. And the way you volunteer is that in the chat, you type, and this should be somebody who feels comfortable moving stickies around or little notes around a mural. So, okay, ready? So in the chat, write JIT 5S.
Do, 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 do.
They really need 2 of us singing,
All right. Wow, I got 3. I got 3. I got Heather, Preston, Jacob, and Erin. ERIN.
Well, so we only need 3. Heather, Preston, and Jacob?
Yep.
They're the first 3? Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Heather, Jacob, and Erin. I said Heather's last name. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Heather,
So it's
Jacob,
Heather, Jacob, and Erin.
I guess Preston could be a name, right? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Well, this activity that we're doing, I have done in person using actual Scrabble tiles. So I just buy bags of Scrabble tiles and do this activity. I've also, I've seen it with PowerPoint, Lean Portland. So Brian Hurley, I think was mentioned earlier. He is a member of Lean Portland, Maria Grzanka, Amanda Zimmerman. They really cool team of people, and they have a bunch of virtual tools. So reach out to them because I've used a handheld 5S activity on my cell phone. And that was really neat. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. Each of you have the same instructions. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the clock. And in that 30 seconds, you're going to move tiles into here that say just in time cafe rocks! Okay, that makes sense?
Yep.
All right. And I don't think I'm going to use that little thingy because it's in the way when I do that.
Okay.
Tracy, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
All right, 30 seconds on the clock. I'm deleting it first. Ready? Okay, go. And this should just be Heather. Nobody else help. It's the other.
But we all want to help each other.
It's very sweet. I like that she went like rogue and put some ones off to the right off the bat. Stop. Okay. Oh, that was really, really good. Like, that was really good, Heather, and whoever else helped, but that was really good. All right, so we've got everything except the O and the K. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and sort this. So basically when she did it, she probably noticed that there were some letters or symbols in there that she didn't really need. So now we're going to have Jacob give it a try. Okay, Jacob, are you ready? Everyone else, calm your cursor, get it out of the way. You might have a hard time finding it. Okay, ready, Jake? Mark. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm saying that to you, but I need to get my timer ready. Okay, hey, Mark, get set, go. There you go. He's being like a rock star. Okay, time's up. All right, so yep, I would have given it to you before because I'm not measuring defects here, which you could if you're doing this with your team. All right, so I'm now going to do it again. Great job, Jacob. I think I made it too easy. I should have made this faster, or I just must be slow. Okay, so Erin, you are up next. Are you ready? I'm just assuming you are. Okay, everybody, this is Erin's big show. All right, go. Okay, 9 seconds to spare. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there. That's just one example of an activity that you can do with your team. We only went to set and order, or you can do examples of the standardize, sustain, and for that, you may want to put like little frames around it with like what goes in each row and how many. If you notice when we started, we had like different amounts in each area. And so you can do a number of things with that, but it's just kind of a quick, easy illustration for it. Okay, I'm going to jump over to one piece flow. So again, for our non-lean friends in the room, one piece flow is really in a nutshell, like advancing one unit at a time through the process. And it's not waiting for a batch of work to accumulate, which we call WIP or work in progress, before advancing. Okay, so we're going to do 2 rounds of activity here, and I actually need 7 volunteers this time. And so the volunteers are going to type JIT1PC. Do we have anybody, Tracy?
Not yet.
Nobody in the chat window yet.
Oh,
Type
sorry,
in the
what'd you
chat
say?
window if you want to volunteer. We need 7.
JIT1PC.
We got 2, Jason and Heather. We need 5 more. Anybody else want to type in the chat window? Okay, good. We have Jason, Heather, Michael, Mary. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 2 more, 3 more. I can't count. 3 more volunteers.
It's so easy, y'all. Really easy
You can
job.
do it.
You can do this.
Augusta and Esther. So that's 6. One more. One more volunteer. Type in the chat window, JIT one
Augusta,
PC.
Esther,
Kirsten, thank you.
Kirsten.
Yep. 1, 2,
How do you
3,
spell
4.
Augusta? Is it A-U?
AGUSTA.
I think
Oh, that's how I
I
spelled
think
it.
you had 7 when you got to Tony. Augusta, then Tony.
I didn't hear Tony.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah, we have 8.
Oh,
Heather already participated. We can have Tony go. It's up to them. But but Heather did respond like second.
all right. It's the same Heather as the first as the JIT time.
Yep.
All right, I'm taking her out. I'm sorry, Heather. Love you dearly, but we're taking you out. Okay, so we're gonna have Jason be player 1. Y'all keep track of this, right? Jason, you're player 1. Michael, you're player 2. Mary, you're player 3. Augusta, you're 4.
What?
Tony,
Esther.
I'm getting to Esther.
Oh, sorry.
Tony, you're 5. Esther, you're 6. And Kristen, you're 7. Okay? We all good?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this exercise, so this is one where I learned it from Scaled Agile, actually. So that was the first time I used it, and I thought it was pretty cool. So in the first round that we do, player 1, Jason, is going to move each circle. I'm a little nervous. I'm going to move it just a little bit. All right, so Jason's going to be moving these dots here from the start area to section 1. Don't do anything yet, Jason. I see your snail moving around in there. All right, then once all of those are filled by Jason, then Michael's going to grab each one and move it. Uh-oh, where'd that come from? Move it to section 2. Okay, when those are filled, then the next person, Mary, is going to move them to section 3. Then when that one's filled, Augusta's going to move into section 4. When those are all filled, then Tony's going to move into section 5. When those are filled, Esther's going to move into section 6. And then Kirsten brings them home. When all of those are filled in, then you'll move it to the done area. Okay, do you all understand how we're doing this now? I don't know if they can, I guess they can chat if they don't know how to do it. All right. And so
my timer is ready.
Tracy's timer is ready. She's got the hard job for this. I'm just kicking back and watching what happens. I see Jason, you're ready to go. So on your marks, get set, go. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, we should have music. I think Tracy mentioned that.
It's true.
Right. Or I could just keep singing like dun, 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 dun. Oh, look at that,
look
trickster.
at that.
Okay, one at a time, new rule. Move one at a time. You're gonna screw up the whole process. Call him Tricky Michael.
Yeah, somebody had mad skills.
Yeah, but props for that, man.
I know.
And like, I'm giving myself props for getting that locked down so that they didn't all move with the whole box too.
No,
So, all right. So is this Augusta moving them now, I think? This is exciting.
Did you say you like Legos? I'm seeing black Legos with white dots.
Maybe that was my inspiration. Yeah, I'm a member of the Ladies Lego Lounge, which is an international group on Facebook, and we have Zoom Lego build get-togethers. Quite exciting.
Oh, Mike says they're dominoes. That's true too.
Oh, is Mike a domino fan? Maybe it's whatever we are interested in. We think it looks like those. If you're like a bricklayer, it could look like actual bricks. Oh, wait, Tracy. Ooh.
Oh, I got it.
One. Cool. Brilliant. Awesome. Great job, everyone. You get an A+. All right, talk to me, Tracy. What was the first one entered at?
The first one was entered at 23. No, the first dot was entered at 2 seconds.
From the very beginning, when
Yes.
it was first pulled from start?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I don't need to know that time. I just need the difference between when it first went into the done section and that time.
Oh, okay. So the done section for the first dot was 1 minute and 33 seconds.
Okay. And then what was the last dot in?
1 minute and 40 seconds.
Okay, awesome. All right, team. Well, you probably know what's coming next. Maybe you don't. One piece flow. So that was our batch round. So in this round, now let me show you the directions here. Doot. All right, so in this round, so again, same people, hope you know who you are, but player one, so Jason, you're gonna move each circle from start to within your section one. So really it doesn't change much for your activity. Player two, so Michael, I know you loved doing your shortcut thing, so now you get to do it for real, because as soon as Jason puts one circle into his section one, you can move it over to your section two. All right, same thing, Mary. As soon as he moves to one of them to section two, you can grab it and take it to section three and so forth until we get to the done section. All right, everybody clear on that? Oh, somebody moved my circles for me. You are such helpers, thank you. All right, so Jason, are you all ready? You look ready. I see the snail again. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. I like watching everybody like hover around like, I'm ready, I'm ready. You can see it in the little dots. Oh my gosh, it's moving so fast. Yeah, and again, I'm not doing defects. I know that's a common, obviously in Lean, we want to look for defects as well as time. And I'm not doing that in this exercise today, but you can do that when you go with your teams and do it. Woohoo. Great job. All right. Whew, Tracy, what do you get for time?
Okay, for time. First dot in the done column, 23 seconds.
Woo! Nelly bees. All right. What was the last time?
41 seconds.
Brilliant recovery, guys. Awesome. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to spend too much time on here. I think if you are in Lean, you probably know a lot about that, but that's a great way to show just a quick demonstration about the impact it can have batch versus one piece. And you can extrapolate that for your business results over a year or whatever the case would be. Okay, last one. Do we have time for the name game exercise?
Well, we could always try.
Okay. Okay, so this is something that I do. I use it towards the end of an event or right before you're doing an improvement. Really sets realistic expectations and considers those that are not in the event. So here's where you're going to use your paper that you put in front of you. And in the first activity, so there's 3 rounds. And so keep your pens down until I say go, because this is going to be really fast once it starts going. When you're done with your activity, just type any letter into the chat and hit enter, because I want to see how fast it is, and that's probably the fastest thing. So just type any letter and press enter. Elizabeth's going to be watching. We're just going to look at the first 10 entries so that we can then do the time for that, because I don't want it to drag out forever. All right, so the first one is you're going to print your first and last name on each edge of the paper. Okay, ready? Get your pens ready. On your mark, get set, go. Do it on your paper in front of you with your pens and all that. And so when you're done, just hit any button or type any letter and hit enter in the chat. Or does anybody have their thing coming through yet?
We've got 9. If I get one more, you'll have 10.
Okay.
Do you want me
It's a
to
quick
read off the
exercise.
names, or do you want
Nope.
okay.
If Tracy has the times for them.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What was the first one?
It was 25 seconds.
Okay, awesome. Okay, what was the last one?
Well, I wasn't sure if Nick was the last one.
Yeah.
Just go with it. It's an illustration.
That was a minute.
Oh, exactly a minute. Cool. All right, gang. Well, I think that was terrible. I think you could do better. You've been writing your names your whole lives. So let's get rid of it. Flip it over, get a new piece of paper, do something different. I think that, we have this great lean initiative, so we're going to cut your work in half. So pencils down, pens down, don't get too excited. And this one, you're going to write every other letter on your sheet of paper. So just like I did here, very quickly, I'm sure, because I cut out 50% of my work. So you're going to write your name on every single side here like this. New sheet of paper, brand new, fresh things. Okay, are y'all ready? Elizabeth, Tracy, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, on your mark, get set, go. I'm expecting great things from them. I've cut half their work. It should be super easy.
You have very high expectations.
Oh, I think they're realistic. You'll just see. I'll prove it.
They're coming in.
Okay. See, I told you.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7.
If I yell, do you think they'll go faster?
Yeah, yelling's a great technique. I think you should
hurry up. Team.
Yeah, encourage them. Okay, so I think that's the same group. 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they're
Okay,
through.
What do we have, Tracy?
Okay, I have 20 seconds.
Okay, a little better.
46 seconds.
Okay. Okay, well, you know what? I'm still really disappointed. I thought it was going to be half, so this is not good, folks. All right, I'm going to do one last try. Okay, this time you can use that same sheet of paper where you just wrote your half names. And this time, pencils down. I see you thinking about moving your pens. All right, this time you're going to write it like right underneath it. On your mark, get set, go. I think this is going to be the one.
I think the yelling's taking effect. I think that's what's happening.
Must be the yelling.
Yeah, I think that you're getting.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Where did that
Okay,
come from?
they're coming through.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Tracy, did you
Spent
get
a lot of
them?
money on this.
Yep.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. Mike Osterling was last both times. So
Yeah, what up with that, Mike? What
Come on,
up
Mike.
with that?
No, if we
Shorter
get rid of
name,
Mike, I
Mike.
think it's going to be better performance.
Okay, what do we have for time? What's the first one?
It's 15 seconds, and the last was 24.
Holy buckets, folks. Okay, so the first one, so this is what I would talk about with the team then. It's a learning experience, right? So between the first and the second round, I cut the work by half. So in an event, in a lean improvement, you'd be like, oh, I cut 50% of the work out. It should be so easy for everybody. But it wasn't that easy. It didn't go down as much as we thought. And so you start talking about why it was difficult. And when you go back to their jobs, they're going to be tempted to quit doing the improvement because they're going to say like, well, we're not seeing it yet. But the third round, you ask them like what happened there, and they'll give ideas about like, we had a template, we had practiced it, so a lot of different things where it kind of lets you know as a team what you need to do to help with change management, not just within the team, but for those outside of the team. So that is the name game. Okay. Thanks for playing along, everybody. Let's, do we have time for questions then, or I don't know when we're cutting it out.
6 minutes left.
Okay, super duper.
That's amazing facilitation, Stephanie.
Thank you. Actually, I didn't really remember like when I was supposed to stop. So we'll just call it planned. Do we have any questions in the Q&A thing or in the chat?
Does anybody have any questions for Stephanie? You could type them in the chat window or come off. Can they come off mute?
Are you asking me?
No,
I think we would have to bring them off mute, Tracy, but
Oh, okay. All right.
folks
Well, you
can-
can go ahead and type them. Tracy wants to know, how do you create sections in the mural?
Sorry, that's lots of fun mural things. And so there's all sorts of stuff here on the left. And if you go to the frameworks, I just picked this area here. You can just type like new section. Boom. And then you've got a section there. And if you put content in it, you can move the whole thing together that way. And you can also make it part of the outline by right-clicking on it. Where is it? Add to outline.
All right. Good question. Thank you for that. Also, I always recommend creating areas first so you can lock down the areas and then adding sections in the areas, which can be super helpful too. Kirsten wants to know, how does one find a lean group in your state? Kirsten, you tell me your state and we might know some people.
Amen. Yeah.
Illinois. Oh my gosh, there's plenty. Stephanie, don't you know people
I'm in
Illinois?
Iowa. I'm in Iowa, but yeah, well, okay. Well, look, also, well, I want to promote women in lean, but
That's true
that's
too.
how I
Women
found
in Lean.
everyone.
Join Women in Lean. And let's see, good. That's another one. And then we have a quick question. Beyond Lean Portland, do you have any other resources for lean games that we can replicate in Mural? I think we should start a group that just shares it, right?
Yeah, I think
Because I think
so.
more and more people are getting some experience with this.
Mm-hmm. And our go-to, I think she was a guest on your show, on your podcast or webinar or whatever, Gemma Jones. Elizabeth and I were just talking to her this morning, and she's always just like a mural guru. She's so creative. So
Yes.
and her session is still available on our website. So if you go to webinars, it's one of the first, it might have been our first one. So there's one by Gemma there. It was early in COVID and everyone was desperate for digital whiteboards to collaborate. So check that out.
Definitely check it out. It's really good.
But I think it's real time, that's for sure. You know, I just did a session with City and County of Denver, and there was a lot of games we played. It was super fun. But I don't have written it down anywhere.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure we could probably look them up and find some and just keep sharing. Like, I think that's just the best thing to do. So
yeah, you're just going to have to come back, Stephanie, and create a whole new mess of games for us. Show us how to use them.
I love making games. They're fun.
More fun at the cafe. No, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm loving this.
Kirsten, I'll just point out that Mike had a great idea. Look for the AME Lean Consortium or Consortium in the Chicago area. They probably have a lot of groups. And Tracy says, great job, Stephanie. Thank you. There's so many thank yous happening right now on the chat. I don't know if you can see that, Stephanie, but want to direct that to you so you don't miss them.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Getting a lot of great jobs here, getting a lot of kudos. In spite of how much you yelled at those poor people, Stephanie, people still appreciate you. That was really, that was awesome. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Sam. Oh, Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam. All right, you guys, thanks to everyone for joining, and we will see you next month.
If you stop sharing, we can do one last wave. Goodbye.
Okay.
Sorry. Bye, everybody.
Bye.